Okay, we're going to do a question here. It comes in a few parts, and it's an inverse function question, and parts of it are a little bit challenging, but it's like what they like to do with lots of questions, actually. In fact, the very first thing, they tell you that f of x equals some number k to the x power, but k is some number greater than 0. Otherwise, things don't make any sense, but k is greater than 0. Okay, so here we go. They give you a sketch here, and they tell you it goes through 1, and one of the points is 4 and 16. Well, oh, so many questions involve doing this. Taking a point, your x value is 4 and your y value is 16, and just substituting in 16 for y, 4 for x. Oh, and then you go, 16 is really 2 to the 4th power. This is k to the 4th power. The only way these things can be equal to each other, I made the exponents the same on the top. K must equal 2. So there we go. We figured out k. K is equal to 2. Now we know our equation is y equals 2 to the x power. Now it says determine the inverse of this equation g here, this equation, this function here. Actually, it's the inverse. Find the inverse of the equation. It's going to be, the inverse is going to be called g. Anyways, they want you to find the inverse of this. You've got y equals 2 to the x. You switch x and y. There's the inverse, but it's got to be in the form of y equals. Well, the exponent is the log. So y equals the log, the base is 2, of x. There's your answer. Now they want you to sketch the graph of g and the coordinates of 2 points. Okay, let's see. Let me just do that. Well, we've got a 0 and 1. We just make 1 and 0 is the inverse. We've got 4 and 16. We just make 16 and 4 the inverse. And that's it. This graph f takes off to the x-axis, negative x-axis. So we make this one take off to the negative y. The y equals x on line is your axis of symmetry. Look, we've got 2 points for each one. I think we've done it. There it is. We've sketched the graph of g. The g is the inverse here in this question. Let's take a look at the next question. You might have to go over this a little bit carefully and play it a couple of times because there's lots of ideas in it. Okay, use the graph to determine the values of x for which f times g would be positive. Now, this gets a little tricky for people. You want to find all the places where when you take the value of f and you multiply it by the g, you get a positive number. It's greater than 0. Well, let's just take a look at this. I'm trying to grab onto this little pole here, and I'm having trouble. Where is it? There it is. There it is. I got it. Okay, right here. If I stop right there, you can see that the f value right there would be positive, but the g value would be negative, and a positive times a negative would give you something less than 0. So it just doesn't work there. It just doesn't work there. F times g just doesn't work. But right here, f is positive, but g is 0. So it still doesn't work. But if I go a little bit greater than, than 1, then it works. And that's your answer. X is greater than 1. And x is an element of the real numbers. Okay, those are the values of x that will make f times g a positive number. When is g of x equal to a negative number? When is g of x equal to a negative number? Okay, well, let's just take a look at that. First thing we would be nice to figure out is when is g of x equal to negative 1? So if we take the function, the log of x to base 2, and we let it equal negative 1, then 2 to the negative 1 equals a half. So 2 to the negative 1. Oh, it looks like a half is going to be our solution. So when does the thing right there at a half, it's equal to negative 1, right when it's a half. So right in here from a half, and if we move over, okay, it's working, it's less than, but as soon as you hit here, it's no answer at all. It doesn't even touch there. So the answer is x has got to be greater than 0, but less than or equal to this 1/2. Okay, you can see my little red line in here as I'm going on looking at the function g. When it's a half, it hits right at -1. That was part of solving this question here, figuring this out. X is equal to 2 to the -1. X is equal to the base to this power, and that's your answer. A half is the key. So X is less than or equal to half, but greater than or equal to 0. And there you go. You might want to play this back over and try it yourself. You might want to try the questions and just stop the thing and not look at all the solutions and see if you can do it that way too. Okay.